I've been totally neglectful of this channel. So let's see if anybody shows up and says, hey. Yeah, I got the live chat going, but nobody's here. If you're anything like me, oh shoot! Radiant skin, turn down, skin, turn down, turn down. There we go. Get rid of that noise. Skip ad. All right. Nobody's here, but I'll start talking just in case people actually watch the replay later. So I'm popping on just to check in. I closed my show last Sunday. And last Sunday I had to move out of my apartment that they had set up for me in Louisville. And then after leaving Louisville, that Monday, I started driving back out west because I do actually have another job lined up that I have to be there May 9th, which feels far away, but it took me forever to get this far in California. So I'm headed back to the Bay Area, California. I have it's a much smaller contract, but I'm headed back. Oh, cool. There's like 14 people in. Yay. I was like talking to myself for a while. So hello, everybody. I'm between locations right now. I left Louisville about a week ago. Louisville. I never learned how to say it, and I didn't get my t-shirt. I meant to get the t-shirt that has all the pronunciations of Louisville on it, and I never got it because life happened, and next thing I knew I was back on the road. Thank you for everybody who's taking time to give a thumbs up, even though I haven't even started this thing. Obviously, I haven't been around for a bit. I just been like, fully absorbed into my last two shows. So that would be the show I did in St. Louis and then the show I did in Louisville. I am going to have such anxiety about saying that word. In Kentucky. So like on Sunday night, I left Kentucky and I just got out of Nebraska. Because I've been driving back across the country. So yeah, I just crossed from Nebraska into Wyoming. You lose track. It's just a long road. So I'm glad a bunch of people popped in to say, hey, hello to everybody. I'm going to actually look at the chat right now. We got a bunch of hellos and heys. How you doings? Oh yeah, Locked for Life says my solar panel is still solid. That is awesome. I'm so glad I got to help you out with that. Julianne says, hey Dawn, good to see you. It's Louisville. I've been told there are multiple sort of pronunciations. Michelle Sugg says, Dawn, I've missed you. Oh, well, I'm glad I could pop on for you. Debbie Ray says, hi, Dawn. So glad I caught you live. Gene Snyder says, it's rare that I catch you live. I'm glad you guys caught me live. I was worried. I was like, if I jump on, will anybody show up? And people are showing up, so this is great. Shiny Nickel Blade says, happy Earth Day. Happy Earth Day to you, too. I didn't know it was Earth Day, I'm going to be honest, but I also had to remind myself what day it was. I'm like, what day is it? I'm like, Saturday. Okay, so I haven't been driving a full week yet. And when I say driving a full week, this truck is slow, okay? Negative to this style of truck. It is slow. It is a slow gas guzzler. And I was shocked. It took me about 2 days to get from Louisville back into St. Louis, and that's what stops. But I also had like errands to run and stuff like that. Coming out of Kentucky, headed back west, and so I ran errands. I took some time to like put stuff away because when I moved out the apartment, I just got stuff out of the apartment and I didn't get everything put away in here. So it was like I just had bags and stuff all over the floor and I just got in here. And then I rested and then I drove for a while and then I unpacked some stuff and then I drove for a while and I ran some errands. And those first 2 days, I was like, I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. I'm only like an hour and a half outside of Kentucky. And it's been picking up the last couple days because I kind of want to just get back to California and get settled a little bit, I am going to be living in the box truck for my next job. So my next job, technically, I'm working as a local, because it's one of the smaller contracts, and I got recommended for this job by a designer who I worked with before, um, and a director I worked with before. Apparently, they both gave him my name, and I needed something in between this and hopefully my job that still exists at Oregon Shakespeare Festival. And I say hopefully, because right now, Oregon Shakespeare Festival is unfortunately experiencing some money problems. They're doing a fundraiser right now. I am going to post about it on my community page probably tomorrow. But OSF is going through a transition. And they're still kind of in COVID recovery, and they got through last season and it felt great. But when they really started examining their finances, they are going to come up short of being able to finish the season. So not too long ago, they actually started a fundraiser so they could finish the season. If they don't meet the goals of their fundraiser, my job at the end of the year is unfortunately gone. Because I would start that job in, oh God, so many dates in my head right now. So this show that I'm going to do Hamlet in California at Marin Shakespeare specifically. Already signed the contract for it. That is going to go until June 19th. Did I have that right? Or is it July 19th? We open in June, it's still July. July 28th is when I was going to go back to Oregon Shakespeare Festival and do Where We Belong, which is the last show of the season. But if they don't meet their fundraising goal, that show won't exist. And that job won't exist for me at the end of the year. So I'll probably be posting about that fundraiser tomorrow. And it's also just not about me. Like, there are people there whose contracts will be cut short, whose shows will end earlier than they were supposed to. There's other jobs that's going to disappear besides mine if they don't meet their fundraising goal. So question mark if I have my end of year show. But I at least have this show that I'm going into. Mickey! So even though it's a smaller contract, number one, it's going to continue my equity weeks, which can build towards me getting health. I hope I'm not boring, y'all. I'm just talking about work. But it's going to build my equity weeks towards getting health insurance and other benefits. And Mickey is just all in the camera today. He's like in the perfect spot. This job will help me get my equity weeks, but I just don't know if my show at the end of the year is going to work out. I really feel positive that OSF is going to be able to make their fundraising goal. At least I hope so. I feel like it's such a big part of Ashland that people will want to contribute to them making it. But that's sort of a question mark that's hanging over my head about the end of the year and having that job at the end of the year. But I'm like, the job I'm going to now was a surprise job. I thought I was going to be out of work until the OSF job. And this show came up and it fit right in enough time for me to get out of Kentucky to this job, do this job, and assuming OSF does make it, I would still have enough time at the end of this show to get to Oregon and be able to do that show. So that's the craziness that's going on in my life right now. And that was about as much as my brain could handle. And so, yeah, I have not been posting a lot on YouTube. You know, I was living in an apartment. Obviously, I'm living back in the box truck right now, and I will be living in the box truck because when I go back to California, I'll be working as a local, which means working under the assumption I have my own local housing. And that's always been the advantage to sort of this lifestyle in my career. It's like, can you work as a local? Yeah, totally. I could have a house in whatever town you want me to. So the bad and the good. I was really looking forward to getting back to Ashland. So it'll hurt a lot if I don't get the chance to this season. And also, I'll just feel bad for all the people who will be losing income if OSF is unable to finish their season. From the last I checked in, people felt positive about it, so hopefully that positivity is continued and they've been able to do what they need to do. But that's sort of in the world of, I don't know, gray space. But I am excited to be going into this job that I'm about to do now, and I am kind of excited to get back to the West Coast. I miss the West Coast. I don't know, my soul and my spirit is more on the West Coast than towards the East. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on with me right now. Let me jump back in here because I've just ran my mouth a whole bunch a lot. Princess Pamela says, you come in Portland way at all? Well, right now I don't have any work near Portland. Right now I'm not even sure if I'm going to get to Ashland. So we'll see what life does. Right now it's to California, so I can kind of settle in, get back in my groove, so that by the time this job starts with Marin Shakespeare, I'm kind of just settled and not trying to drive places. So yeah, because in a perfect world, I would have taken this slow trip and it would have been super scenic, but I'm like, no, I just want to get there and settle down, instead of having to think about getting there. So yeah. Princess says, I work in Mill Valley, Marin County when I'm Marin County when I'm in Cali. Awesome. Shiny Nickel Blaze says, your job sounds fun. Julie says, that all sounds interesting. I hope LSF pans out after this. Next job back in CA. Me too. So right now, I'm just on here to talk to you guys. Oh crap, I lost the chat. So I don't even know what else to talk about. That's what's going on with me right now. I don't know if anybody has any questions, or just anything else to throw at me. While I was in Kentucky, I'm not gonna say Louisville because somebody will criticize how I say it. Oh my gosh. So the PA, the production assistant in Louisville, was like one of my favorite people. Her name was Megan, and she was awesome. Oh my gosh. It was like my work soulmate. I absolutely adored her. Right now, she's a non-equity stage manager, hence why she could only be the production assistant on the show that I just left. But I want to steal her so bad. Believe me when I say, professional soulmate, that's what I mean. I mean, the way we worked together was, really, really cool. So I kind of miss her. And I also really miss the wardrobe supervisor I worked with in St. Louis. She was also awesome. Absolutely awesome. We felt like real, partners backstage. It just flowed so nice. Once those two shows got up, the backstage flow was so great. I worked with some really great people. I'm running my mouth. Okay. Let me see. Let me see what the chat says. Julie says, Dawn, do you know what the weather situation is in the Bay Area right now? Is all the snow melting, flooding gone from where you are going in CA? Nope, I have no idea. I'll find out when I get there. Nothing can be as bad as pre-Christmas St. Louis. Whatever it is, it cannot be as bad as pre-Christmas St. Louis. Princess Pamela, thank you for reminding people to hit the thumbs up button. Yeah, if you can take a second to hit that thumbs up. It keeps my channel from totally dying, even though it had a half death while I was doing these jobs. Oh man, now I'm curious. Let me see what the weather is in Marin County. Even though I'll probably go to Berkeley first because I want to see some friends out there. Let's see, weather.com. That'll work. I can pick anything. I'm just gonna go on the interwebs and see what we got. Let's see. Can't make it work. Marin. Let's see. Marin County weather. Oh shoot. So I just looked up the weather in Marin County, the 5-day forecast. It's nice, actually. It's super nice. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything disastrous happening in Marin. I mean, it looks like normal, like this time of year weather in the Bay Area. I haven't spent a load of time in Marin County. Uh, I mostly stay around that Berkeley, Oakland area. But we shall see. But I'm not seeing anything like disastrous that I need to worry about. Sunny, 65, maybe as low as like 48 overnight. Like, yeah, I don't see anything to worry about in the weather category. At least not where I'm going. I'm worried about like sort of the weather fluctuations that I've been driving. I went from it being so hot, I was into a t-shirt, to now I'm wearing this hat at night to keep my head cool because I got a little bit of a cough and a stuffy nose, and I was like, oh crap, I don't want to get sick. And so I went to Walmart and I bought me another big comforter to put on top of my bed, and that has helped a lot because I had a blanket that was supposed to be for a twin size bed. I ended up getting a king size comforter. I only have a twin mattress, but that turned out to be the right size to just cover me up completely. Also, because the cats indent their bodies where they lay on the freaking comforter, does not help, and Mickey will go underneath it. So now I'm a little bit warmer than I was on the nights have been, but it hasn't been that cold. Like even when it dropped, like it hasn't been that cold. Princess Pamela, yes. If you would come to Marin County between now and whenever the hell I'm leaving, definitely hit me up. Whatever I said earlier. Lisa Ruff says it was 100 in Yuma. Oh my good God, Lord. Locked for Life says it was hot today in the mid 70s. This is my Bay Area temperature. Lisa Ruff said, I've missed that wonderful laugh. Thank you so much. Myra Murray says, you helped me with getting into van life. Thank you. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Shiny Nickel Blade says, how do you get a job like yours? So when I was in college, shout out to Towson University, I actually studied theater. And I went to theater, honestly, not knowing what I wanted to do 100%, but I ended up getting into stage management in college. I have been stage managing on and off for like small companies as a non-equity stage manager. They call it non-professional, but that just means you're not in the union. I hate the word non-professional. It just means non-union. Has nothing to do with like how long you've been doing it. Because some people get in the union like right away. Because there's steps to getting in the union. You can't just go join. And other people, like, it's a struggle to get into it. And some people don't want to go into the union. They'd rather be non-equity and just be paid directly and not have to pay union dues and all that other stuff. Or they just do it on the side. They still get paid for it, but it's not at the same rate as like a professional. Long story short, I've wanted to get into the union for a while, but I was stage managing non-union for about 10 years, also balancing it with other jobs. I just never could get my foot into the right door to sort of push me forward, and that finally happened last year. So it's been a long journey. It's not a simple answer. Some people don't have as long of a journey as me. I know people who get out of college and, they do they work one company for a year, get all of their requirements filled, and then they go into the union right away. And so they're in the union like almost immediately. My journey's been a little bit longer, but I studied theater in college. I learned how to stage manage in college, and then once I graduated, I started doing it. It's just up until probably the last year, I haven't been able to do it exclusively. So it's been a blessing that change has come. But it is a struggle sometimes because it is contractual work. There's no guarantee unless a theater hires you. on as like sometimes not all, but some theaters have what they call a house production stage manager, and they sort of head the stage management department. But it's only really big houses that have that. In most cases, the production manager is hiring stage managers contract by contract. But the idea is like you make enough contacts that people know your name, and you get to the point where you're not even looking for the work. It's just kind of coming to you. Now the onus is on me to make sure I keep putting my resume out there. But also, like, my last 3 jobs have been a recommendation. The one job I had in St. Louis was a transfer. Oh my gosh! William Oliver, hello! I saw Dawn, miss you, my friend. Heart. My St. Louis job was a recommendation from OSF. My Louisville job was a recommendation from the stage manager in St. Louis, because I was her ASM. And my job that I'm going to with Marin Shakespeare is a recommendation from a designer I worked with in St. Louis and a director I worked with in St. Louis. So luckily the recommendation tree has been working so far. Cross my fingers, it keeps working, and I keep working. Yeah, but I got it by studying it in college. Long story short. This must have been when I was looking up the weather. 1954 Shadow says cloudy with a chance of meatballs. Robert Dragoff says, hey, where are you now? I just crossed out of Nebraska into Wyoming. We'll see how far I make it in Wyoming as I continue to head west tomorrow. But right the second, I literally just got over the Nebraska border into Wyoming. Those are the right states, right? I always forget where. Because, like, you're just on the road and you're just driving. Driving. Okay, I'm going to get off the road now. There's a rest area. I've been driving for about an hour. I don't have any cruise control, guys. Like, I have no cruise control. So if I am driving, it is all me. It is all my foot on the pedal with no cruise control. So my leg just cramps up after a while. So when I'm pushing it, I can do about an hour and a half without a break. When most of the time I try to do about an hour and take an intentional break. And I'll relax. I'll read a little bit. I don't try to get into anything that's too deep. I might read. I might, like, watch a silly YouTube video. I was addicted to Love is Blind season 4, so I watched that every once in a while. I would, like, watch an episode on my rest, and then I would kick on again. You know, I'll walk around a little bit. But, yeah. Yeah, I got it right. I went from Nebraska into Wyoming. I had to relook at the map, as it were. Open up. There we go. Myra says, how are the kitties doing? They're doing great. Mickey was up there earlier. He was just crawling across the cabinets. Now they're both in the bed, and I'm sitting right here. Let's see if we can get them on camera. You know how they are. Let's see. Can you see them? Don't make fun of my bed, but they're right there. Hanging out. Hi, Mickey. Hi, Felix. All right. They're happy kitties. Mickey is cool with, all right, we're about to go. Felix does not like moving. And it's not about going from, like, a house back to the box truck or a box truck into a house. He's just like, I was settled and you ruined my life. So he always protests for about a day where he just kind of hides and he won't eat. And I'm like, if you won't eat, that's you just not eating. And so eventually he gets over it. So right now he's fine because, like, we're in the box truck. So even though the box truck is moving, he doesn't have to move out of it. And he hates the world. The world is scary. So if a door opens, he's running as far inside as he can. Mickey's a funny cat. I love him. He's so weird. Yeah, he'll go look in the window, but if a door opens, he's running away. He's like, where can I hide under? The door's open, the world is scary. It says, "Hi Dawn, I pray that you will continue to get work. It's so hard living from paycheck to paycheck. I pray you have favor with God and with man." Well, in an ideal world, even if I have gaps between work, it's still not living paycheck to paycheck. Because in a perfect world, this is contract life. And if I didn't want to be in contract life, I could go get like a regular non-contract job. There's probably ones even in theater where I could reapply my stage management skills. But part of the skill of getting into contract work is preparing for the gap. And so sort of that's what I'm working towards. I don't exist in that world right now, but right now I'm okay. I am not worried about the 3.5 weeks that I'm going to be out of work. Now, I'm not rolling in dough, but I'm confident with what I have. I can make it back to California. I can start my next job. I won't be in an ideal position, but I'm also not like, I'm afraid I'm going to starve. So that's a good place to be in. In an ideal world, you know, this wasn't a good situation for it just because everything was happening so fast, and I am super far from my mailbox, and that screwed me up last time as I didn't have a way to get mail to myself. But like, gap unemployment is an option. This is where it's been really difficult, because is that Oregon has very specific laws about unemployment. So if I'm out of the state, even if I'm headed to a job, I need to be like justifying looking for work every single week. So I can't pass through a state on a way to a state 3 states away. It was a whole thing. I didn't understand how specific it was. So basically I missed out on some unemployment in that situation. I was able to argue for one back once I actually got into St. Louis. So it's just stuff I need to be aware of to like take care of the gaps. And especially if I actually have 18 months of work, which I'll be in a better position for at the end of the year. Even if the worst happens with the OSF job and it doesn't work out, I'm in a much better place than I've ever been in the past, even if I have some gaps in employment, which is probably going to happen because that's just doing stage management work. So I feel better about that moving forward than I have in the past. Before, if I was out of work, I was out of work. And my work history was all over the place, and I couldn't really... It was a whole thing. I'm in such a better place right now as far as that. And I feel pretty good about the connections I've made. Wherein if I'm like, hey, I don't have anything lined up, keep me in mind if you know something that's coming. I can now search for work on the Equity Union website. I can now search for work on Playbill because a lot of that work is equity. And so my options of where I can search for better paying jobs have just changed with me getting into the union. So I'm nervous because contract to contract life is what it is. But I also feel... I hate to say that because I'm going to say I felt confident I was going to go back to OSF at the end of the year. Now I don't know because they may not be able to afford it. But I'm trying to feel positive because I struggle with feeling positive. That's why I don't like to talk about jobs until I'm actually there, because I feel like it's going to go away. And now look what happened. Gosh, I'm going to feel positive. Right now it's been working out. I'm going to feel positive. Positivity. Anyway. Sunshine Car Adventure says, yes, great show. Love is Blind. Love is Blind was so messy this season. Oh my God. Love is Blind season 4. If I thought anybody else liked that show, I would have just got online just to talk to y'all about Love is Blind season 4. Love is Blind season 4 was a mess. It was a lovely mess. It was an entertaining mess, but it was a mess. And I loved it. But anyway, where was I? Robert says, do you have another job lined up? Yes, I'm going back to California specifically for a job with Marin Shakespeare that starts May 9th. I've already attended like a production meeting for it over Zoom. I've had a couple of conversations about it, but my official start date is May 9th. Probably as soon as I'm in town, I'm going to be working on it in some way. I just am not officially, quote unquote, on payroll until then. But my contract's in. Things are supposed to happen, so yeah. Going to Marin. Julie says, when you leave Wyoming, you don't want to take any routes through northern Utah, nor going south of Salt Lake City into the valley of Utah. They've been battling lots of snow there, and it keeps piling up. Ew. I think that's the way Google Maps is trying to take me. I have to do some investigating tomorrow. It's probably going to take me at least... I was looking at it. It's probably going to take me... I hate to say it, probably 2 or 3 days to even get through Wyoming. To be quite honest, because that's my life. Sunshine's Car Adventures is like, yes, it was. Love is Blind, season 4 of that. And now they coming for the producers. I don't know if you've seen stuff, but now some of the old contestants is talking about how they were sleep deprived and denied food and baited with alcohol. I'm like, wow, Love is Blind being dragged through the dirt right now. Woo. Kwame was I did not think Kwame was going to say yes. Only the person who saw Love is... I did not think that man was going to say... I was like so sure he was going to say no. He said yes. I mean, he seemed happy, so whatever. But Zach and Bliss, that was my peeps. Anyway. Maybe only one person knows who I'm talking about from Love is Blind season 4. Oh my goodness. Oh man. Morgan Love says, greetings from the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State. Nice to see you, Dawn. Nice to see you as well. Sean H says, unbelievable how much snow has fallen in the California mountains. I mean, I've been trapped in snow in California before. I remember it shocked me. Because I was thinking, la la la, I'm in California, I'm safe. And I forget where I was driving up to. So yeah, I've been surprised by snow in California before. I want to avoid any surprise snow. So thank you for making me think about that. I was just trusting Google Maps and not even thinking about it. I'm like, la la la, driving back to California. So yeah. Sunshine Car Adventures is like, I love Zach and Bliss. Yes, everybody else was excited for Brett and Tiffany. Everybody who doesn't watch Love is Blind think we crazy right now. And I love Brett and Tiffany. They were great. But I feel like Zach and Bliss had such a wonderful story. And I couldn't believe it. When she said yes, I literally cheered. I was like, yes! Yes! I was so a stan for Zach and Bliss. Oh, we got somebody else who watched the show. CJW was like, I was also shocked that Kwame said yes. Kwame looked like a trapped puppy, like the whole time. I was like, that man is not saying yes. And he said yes. But I see some people been watching that Love is Blind season 4. Like, if I suspected, we would have had to have conversations. Terry Newell says, yeah, stay away from the mountains in Utah. YouTubers Trenton Alley have snow all over the second story. Well, like, sometimes Trenton Alley will get snow, like, up where they are. That isn't necessarily on the main highways. But either way, I don't want to run into no snow. But, you know, they all up in, like, the mountains and Cheyenne. Because there's times they'll get snowing when they drive into town. There's, like, hardly anything. But they got, like, a mountain of snow. I love that there's Love is Blind fans on here. I'm like, yes, I totally watched Love is Blind. Yelled at Jackie. Yelled at Irina. yelled at Mike. I mean, I yelled by myself in a room where they weren't, but I yelled at all of them watching the season. Jeffy's mom asks, what's your gas mileage like? It's always been the same, like, average is 10 miles to the gallon. I mean, that's just the average. That's a truck this size. When I have actually, tracked it, it's never been, it goes up and down a little bit, but it averages what is expected to average for a truck about this size. So it's not really a surprise. It's like, it's kind of what I expect. Like, this truck was definitely built to, like, go somewhere and be there 2 weeks. This is never supposed to be a get up and go truck. It's not. In a perfect world, I wouldn't have to kill this many miles between locations. And in a way, there are times it would be nice to have the minivan again. The minivan had cruise control. It was a much easier drive over longer distances than the box truck is. But the thing is, like, for a home, especially now being a pet owner, this is better for that situation. In an ideal world, I would never have to travel this far. Like, between the St. Louis job and the Louisville job, that was a perfect amount of space to have to drive between jobs. This is a little more extreme, because I ended up going to St. Louis and then having to go further. But I kind of got this truck for its advantages sitting still, not its advantages driving. And that's sort of just the choice I have to deal with. In the future, it would be nice to have the option of, like, another vehicle or a smaller vehicle, but then it becomes a problem with, like, what would you do with that? Is this the point where I would have to rent a place to, like, switch vehicles out, or what would that world life look like? And I don't know. But there are times I wish I had the option, especially when I knew I was going somewhere where I was going to have housing, that instead of having this vehicle, I could have something smaller. Now, going to a job like the one I'm going to in Marin, where I'm working like a local, I'd want something like this because it's way more comfortable to live in. But if I'm doing something like the St. Louis job or Louisville job, there was a whole long conversations about how we were going to take care of parking this thing. When I was in St. Louis, it could not stay in front of the apartment complex. And so then I had to store this at a U-Haul place, and then had no access to it most of the time I was there. I couldn't even use it as just like a driver when I wanted to go to the grocery store. Now, luckily, they had a company car set up, and you had to sign it out, and I was sharing it with the whole cast base. Well, I'd say I was sharing. Everybody on the cast plus me had to sign it out. If I'd still had my minivan instead of this, I just would have had my minivan out front, because that would have been allowed to park out front of the building. But they couldn't have anything parked on the street that looked like it could be lived in, because they were on university property, and it was just a rule. When I was in Louisville, it was just a matter of space. They were in downtown Louisville. Don't criticize my pronunciation. But I was literally in downtown, like the central of a downtown. There was a stadium. I was right there in the center of downtown. And so what they did was they figured out I could park where the service entrance was. And so there was another person who parked in that spot, and they gave me that spot when I was there. Now, the great thing there was my apartment was like 10 minutes down the street from the theater. And luckily there was a spot there was like literally one spot in the garage where this could fit, and they let me have that spot. And I was able to, like, walk from the apartment, get the truck, go on grocery runs on the weekend. I didn't drive it all week. I didn't need to. I could get from the apartment where they had me set up to the truck in like a 10-minute walk. So that wasn't really a problem. But at the same time, once again, everything would have been easier if I still had the minivan. So there were times I regretted, I didn't regret it because I made this choice for the right reasons, but there were times I thought, wow, life would have been a whole lot easier if I still had the minivan right now, because it would have been able to live in those two worlds like a regular car, whereas it became a big thing of, all right, we want to hire you, we're going to figure this out, where can we put this thing? um, but then I got this job where it was like, but do you live local? And I was totally honest with him. I explained the whole situation to him, especially because, like, of how I got the job. I sort of trusted the situation. And he was like, okay, cool. And I was like, I can work local. I basically have this built out box truck, blah, 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 blah. And he was totally cool about it. And like I said, the recommendations I got it through, it was a really, like, neutral conversation. I wasn't having this conversation with a stranger, and so I could work as a local, and so I was able to take that contract because they're just a smaller theater. They don't have housing. They can't afford the housing, let alone the salary. So yeah, that's sort of the journey of having this box truck, of what it's been. A little bit. I don't know. I think I got on this as a tangent off of, like, my gas mileage, but anyway. Jeffy's mom says, I want to upgrade from a wheelchair 2010 Dodge Grand Caravan to a short wheelchair bus, but I'm severely worried about gas mileage. I mean, it might not be as bad as this box truck, if you look into a bus. Also, you know, there's diesel options instead of gas. I also have a gas truck. Uh, and at the time, I didn't know much about it. There are ways I wonder if diesel would have been better, but, you know, at the time, I got what I got, and it's fine. I'm not too worried about it. Like, most of the time, this is an exception. I am not trying to shoot around the country as quick as I can, jump states every week, every 3 days. Like, that has never been my goal. A lot of the times, I'm super still. It's only times like these I'm spending a lot of money on gas. Like, trying to get from, you know, Kentucky back to California is going to cost me a lot of gas. But once I get in California, I'm not going to be moving around too much. I'm not going to be going all over the place. Like, I'm going to be going to work. I'm going to be running errands, and I'm going to be wherever I am to either hang out for the day or go sleep. So I'm not going to be moving around so much that I'm, like, eating up tons of gas. If you want to, your travel patterns can define a lot of things about gas costs. And when I don't have to be, I always feel like I have a lot of control over my gas costs. Like, mileage is important, but it's important. Gas mileage is important in relationship to how you are going to be using your vehicle. You know, at the end of the day. In an ideal world, and some people live in this more ideal world, you can get decent gas mileage and good size for whatever your purpose is. My life is what it is. This baby has got me through everything I needed her to get her through, and we're good. We're good. There are ways I think psychologically about, maybe a better option would be this, maybe a better option would be that, but all of those involve spending a lot more money to get a new vehicle than the few times every once in a while where I travel a little bit farther than I normally would. Because I use this as where I live between jobs. It's not out there trying to adventure. I'm not trying to climb mountains every other day. I'm not trying to go this way and that. Like, this is just my house that I live in between jobs. Every once in a while, I'll go do something fun in it. But that's not what I say that like it's like my life is terrible. But what I mean is, every once in a while, something is an intentional trip. But I'm not trying to be, like, in one state one week and another state next week. Like, that's never been sort of my goal or my life. Which makes some of my choices balance out in the long term. There we go. I don't know if any of that made sense. Princess Pamela, no, not Marin Theater Company, not MTC. I'm going to be working with Marin Shakespeare. I'm going to be stage managing Hamlet with Marin Shakespeare, which is different from Marin Theater Company, even though they're both based in Marin. Terry Newell, I am jealous that your Ford Transit gets 19 miles to the gallon. My truck does not. Hi, Tina. Julian says, please do another live in a few days after you get past Utah to let us know you are safe. I will do that. What is today? Today is the 22nd. I don't know what is next Saturday. I am hoping to be in California by the end of next week. Like, that would be my goal if I don't drag my feet and I don't hit anything weird and everything goes well. But that would be my goal. But I don't know if that's going to happen based on my current pace. But I was under the assumption, at least. I like when I can't find the thing I'm looking for. Like, I'm going through my phone. I'm like, where is that thing? The calendar. There we go. So next weekend would be the 29th. And then the weekend, I really don't want to get into California that week because that would be the week that I actually have to start work. Yeah, I'd rather be in California by the end of next week. So I really hope that happens. But my pace is slow. I mean, just like... It's just, my legs be hurting after about an hour just driving straight. Like, my legs be hurting. I've downloaded a few audiobooks. Audiobooks have been my thing. They'll just like have some going in my brain. It's a drag, guys. It's a drag. Robert says, how about towing a small car behind you, using it to get around while your box truck stays in one place? Well, here's the debate with towing. Number one, this truck is not set up for towing. So first there's the cost. Like, it doesn't have any of what it needs back there. So somebody would have to install a tow bar or something back there. I don't have one. Then I'd have to buy another vehicle. Don't have money for that. Then would I get something that can be towed on four wheels? Would I then need an attachment on the back? And then when I don't want to be towing around something all the time. Towing is great when you're going to tow a car, go to a campsite, detach the car, leave the bigger vehicle there, and then just be able to use your car. When you don't have and then after you're done at your campsite, you hook up your car, and the only places you're going is from that campsite back home, and then you're going to disconnect everything again. Towing around something all of the time, when you are not set up campsites or campgrounds for an extended amount of time, is a pain in the butt. So then I would have to have some situation where when I don't want to have both things all of the time, maybe I'd have to like buy like a parking spot at a storage place or something. Like, there's way too many complications with towing. I do not want to deal with towing. Sorry. Ugh. I think I have some tissue over here. There we go. Found it. Is that my butt all in the camera? It is my butt all in the camera. Sorry, guys. So like I said, towing does not fit my situation. Because I need to be able to like pull into regular parking spots, pull out of regular parking spots, not worry about what I'm towing, and I definitely don't want to be towing it all of the time. And I don't have anywhere to put the thing I don't want to tow when I'm not towing it. So like the most inconvenient thing I could do is tow. So yeah. If money worked out, I would like a situation where I could literally trade vehicles. Like, maybe have something smaller that I could literally put just some luggage in and a bed and take that instead. And when I know I want this, bring this, maybe have a storage place where I drop it off, and then take this instead of that. But towing both things all of the time, would be a nightmare. Never would want to deal with that. Julie says, if you do 3 hours a day, you will make it by the 29th. That's if I don't have to go uphill. Because I notice it'll say like an hour on Google Maps. And then uphill, it'll take me like an hour and a half. Because suddenly I'm going 40 miles per hour, depending on the steepness of the hill. And everybody's passing me. Judith says, I bet Mickey and Felix love having you home all the time. Yeah, but I think they're sick of the driving too. Because they'll get settled, they'll go to the back, they'll be laying in the bed, they'll be chilling, and I start the engine and they're like, oh crap. And then they just shoot to the front and they get underneath the seat. So I think they're fine with like being back in the box truck, but their favorite time is when it's not driving. Shiny Nickel Blade says electric scooter. Electric scooter doesn't 100% help with like I went to St. Louis and I was living out of this on the way to St. Louis. Once I got there, I was able to use the company car, but it was the whole shebang of like where to park this while I was there because it wasn't allowed to be parked on the street. And then at first in Louisville, they thought they weren't going to be able to park it because it was too tall. And they have parking, but it's a parking garage. So I wouldn't mind getting either an SUV or like a minivan in the future, but that depends on me being able also to have sort of some parking place where I could trade off. Where if I know I'm going across the country and it's a lot of miles, I could get a smaller, more fuel efficient vehicle, leave this at the parking or garage place, take out the fuel efficient vehicle, use the fuel efficient vehicle to get across the country, use the housing while I'm there, use the fuel efficient vehicle to get back, and then when I need to live in something that's a little roomier, move back into the box truck and park the fuel efficient vehicle. Does that make sense? Like that would be more something I would strive for. Than anything else. Like it would be nice to have an electric scooter, especially when I'm in smaller places, but it still doesn't solve the problem of like getting across the country in a vehicle that's smaller than the box truck, if that makes sense. Like it would be nice to have that option sometimes. Standing cameraman, what's up? I just saw you say hi, Don. I'm probably gonna be signing off soon so I can get me some sleep. And Robert is a good question. I'm happy I got a chance to answer it. I don't want to make it seem like I was putting down the question. Obviously, I'm talking about like the option of having a smaller vehicle. The question of towing makes sense. But yeah, I'm not set up for towing. I would have to make a decision about buying a whole other vehicle. There's a whole lot of complications with towing that I just don't want to deal with. So I'd rather somehow build a situation where I could trade off vehicles as opposed to towing all the time. And parking. Like parking and navigating gas stations when you're towing something, it just becomes a pain. It's not for me, guys. It's for some people. It is not for me. Not at all. I like the whole all-in-one, one vehicle life, you know. Because sometimes I look at trailers and I was like, it would be nice to have like that pickup truck and that trailer. But then I'd have to deal with towing. Nah, I don't want to do it. Alright, guys. I think I am going to sign off now. I just wanted to pop in because you guys hadn't seen me in a while. Let you know what I was doing. Like I said, I just got to Wyoming. Oh, Terry, thank you for the $25 gas money. Thank you. What Judith says, sorry, I'm reading. Here's my 2 cents. Get a little bigger box truck with a smart car to fit in the small back garage. A smart car would take up this whole box truck. And if I have to double this size, I've caused more problems than I want to have. I don't want a box truck that big. I don't want a box truck so big that it can fit a smart car ain't that small. If you're talking about fitting it in another vehicle. And me still having living space. Especially for the, like, small amount of times I would have to use it and get it out. No, it's terrible. I like smart cars, though. They are so cute. My friend's dad had a smart car when I was living in Baltimore. I was surprised how comfortable it was inside that thing. But anyway, in that situation, I'd rather get a motor scooter, which I have considered. But then it goes back to the towing and storage problem. I'd rather get like a small motor scooter before I'd get a smart car or just commit to getting a second vehicle and figure out how to, like, whether it means renting a parking spot as storage space or something, figure out how I could trade off 2 vehicles depending on the situation. But that's way down the road. I can't afford another vehicle, guys, and I ain't selling this. Honestly, it's kind of old. So, let's be honest, it's kind of old. The mileage is getting up there. She's still cranking along. She's still doing, but she's kind of old. Like, I don't know if I would get the value I put in. I get more value out of living in it, I think, than trying to sell it. But anyway, I said I was signing off. But I want to talk about that one. Like, you realize how much bigger of a box truck I would need? It's hard enough getting this thing serviced. I don't want to go bigger. But anyway, I'm gonna sign off for today. Maybe I'll pop in next week. Goals. The goal is to get to California before the end of next week. And I realized I would have to push about 4 hours a day to make that happen. Like, if I can get there before, like, the end of next week, I'd have to at least shoot for 4 hours a day. I have 4 hours mapped out for tomorrow with stops. But last time I did that, I made it about 2.5 to 3 hours. I was like, I can't drive no more today. All right, bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for showing up. I love it.